contradict me, Tim. Good evening. My name is James Malcolm. I'm the chair of the Ulster County IDA in connection with this project, which is the subject of this public hearing. I note that as required by New York law, the agency is live streaming this public hearing. Today, we're holding this public hearing to allow citizens to make a statement for the record relating to the involvement of the agency with a project for Gloucester Street Capital, a New York State limited liability company for the benefit of the applicant, a subsidiary of Cresco U.S. Corp., its affiliate Valley Agriculturals LLC, or another subsidiary of Cresco U.S. Corp., and/or principals, owners, or members of the applicant and/or an entity formed or to be formed on behalf of any of the following, collectively known as the company. The proposed project consists of the following: the acquisition of an interest in certain real estate located at 7 Schrade Court and 9 Aluminum in the village of Ellenville and the town of Wawarsing, Ulster County, New York, and more particularly described as approximately 4 parcels of land totaling 90.7 acres located at 7 Schrade Court, Aluminum Drive in the town of Wawarsing, and Aluminum Drive and North Main Street, map number in the village of Ellenville, town of Wawarsing, Ulster County, New York. The construction on the land of an approximately 380,000 square foot manufacturing building and associated infrastructure improvements, and the acquisition and installation therein and thereon of related fixtures, machinery, equipment, and other tangible personal property. All of the foregoing to be owned or leased to and operated by the company or an affiliate as a medical and adult use cannabis production facility and any other directly and indirectly related activities. B, the granting of a certain financial assistance within the meaning of section 854 parentheses 14 of the Act with respect to the foregoing, including potential exemptions from certain sales and use taxes, real property taxes, and real estate transfer taxes. And C, the lease with an obligation of purchase, sublease, or sale of the project facility to the company or such other person as may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency. I intend to provide general information on the agency's general authority and public purpose to provide assistance to this proposed project. I will then open the comment period to receive comments from all present who wish to comment on either the proposed project or the financial assistance contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. Okay, under the heading amount of financial assistance being considered by the agency. However, before discussing the general information and opening the hearing for public comments, I would like to first describe some details regarding the project as outlined in the completed application. In the application, the company has represented the following. The project will create at least 370 FTEs, and that's full-time employees. That's based on a 40-hour week, Joe, or is it a 35-hour week? On 35. Jobs following the 3rd year of operation of the project facility, so that means it's going to ramp up to 375 FTEs by the 3rd year, and that starts after construction is completed. Correct. The creation of these jobs will increase local tax revenue and consumer spending in the community, that the company would not undertake the project without the assistance being offered by the agency. 3, that the company understands and recognizes that the assistance being offered by this agency is subject to clawback under the agency's clawback policy if the company does not complete the project or maintain the required employment levels. I'm going to hold for just a second because this is an important point that more often than not our politicians, our citizenry don't really understand the concept of a clawback or putting things back on the roll. So if our council would just take a second to quickly explain that, just for your edification, and we've actually employed this for someone who didn't follow the rules. Council?
Yes, and thank you, Chair. What the Chair is referring to is that in connection with the closing on this transaction with the IDA is going to enter into what is called a clawback agreement. And we actually call it the Uniform Agency Project Agreement. And within that contractual agreement, which is a binding contract on both sides, the company represents and agrees to do certain things. As the Chair indicated, ramp up to 375 FTEs, complete the project. As part of completing the project, make the investment that they had indicated that they would make in the IDA application, which is approximately $209 million. As part of those requirements and those agreements, the company is going to make annual reporting to the IDA with respect to those particulars. So each year, the CEO is going to get an annual report from the company indicating the number of jobs at the site. And if they fail to meet that level, there are ramifications under the documents, including modification of the pilot agreement, a repayment of the assistance being granted or that has been granted by the IDA, and a termination of the documents and putting the company back on the tax rolls. So there's a hook. There's implications and ramifications if the company doesn't follow through with the transaction. It's not a free ride. It's there's a contractual obligation, and as the chair indicated, this IDA has taken action against several of the project applicants that it's worked with over the years when they have failed to complete and follow the rules and the provisions in their particular uniform agency project agreement. The only thing I'd like to add further is that this IDA enacted that policy of a clawback agreement in advance of the requirement that was imposed on all the IDAs throughout New York State. So it's something that this IDA has been doing for some time, and and as the chair indicated, they've exercised those remedies in other transactions. Anything else you'd like me to add?
Thank you, Counsel.
Okay,
No,
thanks.
so just in lay terms, more often than I would like to comment on, people think we're handing out $20 million. This developer, this end user, is on the hook for it if he doesn't follow through. Okay, so the goal here is to help create jobs and protect the tax base. So I just, it's something that we're sensitive about, because as much as we explain it, we kind of get the look sometimes where everybody nods their head yes, and you're like, they don't get it, kind of thing. But thank you for bearing with us. We just wanted to point that out. The estimated cost of the project are equal to approximately $209,008,535, and the estimated benefits being considered by the agency are described briefly as follows. Sales tax exemption, $10 million estimated. Real property tax exemption, $27,988,413, and that's over 15 years. And what does that work out to be a year, basically, Rose? I know it goes up, but.
The percentages change, it's 95% and then comes down 5%.
Okay. A handout describing the proposed amount of pilot payments to be paid by the company is provided on the table. A pilot abatement and schedule is determined. Where's that? It's on the table for anybody?
Yep,
Okay.
I'll put it up there on that table if anyone wants to see it.
Please note the following with respect to the proposed pilot structure. Real property tax exemption is being considered for the construction thereon of an approximately 380,000 square foot manufacturing building. Under the pilot structure, the amount of existing property taxes being paid with respect to the project site will not be decreased. The company has applied for the 15-year pilot structure under the agency's uniform tax exemption policy, and that's a standard pilot. There's nothing out of the norm. If the company qualifies for such schedule, the schedule provides for a 95% exemption in year one. With the amount of the schedule provides, with the amount of the abatement diminishing by 5% a year until year 10. In year 11, the amount of the abatement diminishes by 10%. In year 15, the project will be paying an amount equal to full property taxes. Note further that the company would most likely be eligible for a similar exemption under Section 45-B of real property tax law. Such exemption is available without the involvement of the agency and without any requirements to complete the project and to maintain the job levels. Lastly, the 15-year pilot structure does not provide any abatement to the company for special district charges such as water or sewer charges. The company is responsible for paying the full amount of such charges. Lastly, under the IDA documents, the company will be subject to recapture of the financial assistance upon the occurrence of certain recapture events, as we alluded to before. Examples of recapture events include the failure to complete the proposed project and make the promised investment and maintenance of the promised job levels. Legal authorization and powers of the agency. The provisions of Chapter 1030 of Laws of 1969 of New York constituting Title I of Article 18-A of the General Municipal Law, Chapter 24 of the Consolidated Laws of New York as amended, and Chapter 787 of the 1976 Laws of New York as amended, constituting Section 923 of said General Municipal Law, authorize the agency to promote, develop, encourage, and assist in the acquiring, constructing, and reconstructing, improving, maintaining, and equipping and furnishing of manufacturing, warehousing, research, commercial, and industrial facilities, amongst others. Pursuant to Section 859-A, Paragraph 2 of the Act, prior to the agency providing any financial assistance as defined in the Act of more than $100,000 to any project, the agency, among other things, must hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 859A of the Act with respect to said project. Since the proposed financial assistance provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project may exceed $100,000, then prior to providing any financial assistance as defined in the Act of more than $100,000 to the proposed project, the agency must hold a public hearing on the nature and location of the project facility and the proposed financial assistance be provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project. After consideration of the application received from the company, the members of the agency adopted a resolution on April 20th, 2022, authorizing the agency to conduct this public hearing with respect to the proposed project pursuant to 859-A, Paragraph 2 of the Act. By way of background notice, this public hearing was published on April 23rd, 2022 in the Daily Freeman, a newspaper of general circulation available to the residents of the village of Ellenville, a town of Wawarsing, Ulster County, New York. In addition, as required by New York law, the notice of this public hearing was mailed on April 21st, 2022 to the town supervisor of the town of Wawarsing, the mayor of the village of Ellenville, chairman of the county legislature of Ulster County, and a superintendent and the Board of Education president of Ellenville Central School District. Lastly, a copy of the public hearing notice was posted on April 23rd, 2022 on the agency's website. Copies of the notice of this public hearing are available on the table. Now, unless there is any objection, I'm going to suggest waiving the full reading of the notice of the public hearing and instead request that the full text of the notice of this public hearing be inserted into the record of this public hearing. The comments received today at this public hearing will be presented to the members of the agency at or prior to the meeting at which the members of the agency will consider whether to approve the undertaking of the proposed project by the agency and granting by the agency of any financial assistance in excess of $100,000 with respect to the proposed project. The agency currently intends to consider the comments received this evening regarding the proposed project at the meeting of the agency to be held May 18, 2022. This meeting, like all meetings of the agency, is open to the public. Are we still going to be in Zoom, or are we going to be? The notice of this public hearing indicated that written comments could be addressed to Rose Woodworth, as CEO of the agency. We have received written comments prior to this public hearing, and such comments will be included in the public record. I will now introduce Marcia Maxwell, who is appearing on behalf of the company, who will describe the proposed project in further detail.
Good evening, members of the board and members of the community in attendance tonight. My name is Marcia Maxwell, and I'm the Regional Director for Cresco Labs, and I'm joined virtually by my Senior Vice President, Serena Noah, and Vice President, Kristen Ficarra, both of whom are under the weather and unable to travel. But it's a pleasure to be here both virtually and in person, not only to present our proposal, but more importantly, to listen. We've had the pleasure of working closely with the local planning board, IDA leadership, and board members, and also local community groups and trade organizations. I'd also be remiss if I didn't thank IDA Executive Director Rose Woodworth and Ulster County Economic Development Director Tim Biederman for your warm welcome and guidance throughout this process. Thank you. That said, we're truly excited for tonight, where we'll have an opportunity to hear from local residents and business owners, and we'll use this opportunity to collect your feedback about the project and ensure we're doing everything we can to be good community partners moving forward. We'll be noting any questions that arise throughout the evening, and we'll provide a full set of response through the chair as soon as possible. So to begin, I want to provide some background on Cresco Labs and who we are as a company. We were founded in 2013 in Chicago, Illinois, and we employ approximately 3,500 people across 10 states, including nearly 100 right here in New York. Currently, we have 21 production facilities and 50 owned dispensaries across the country. So needless to say, this isn't our first rodeo. We pride ourselves on our experience, compliance with regulators, and upholding our mission to professionalize the cannabis industry. As many of you know, through public filing and local press, our project is located at 7 Schrade Court and 9 Aluminum Drive, the former Schrade knife manufacturing site, and we hope to revitalize this property as an economic engine for the community with good paying, full-time jobs for local residents and a range of opportunities for contractors and local trades. As part of this effort, and to make the project financially viable, we're seeking the standard benefits from the IDA in the form of a 15-year pilot and sales and use tax exemption on the construction cost. By way of details, the project is roughly 90 acres between 2 parcels, and our proposed building would be approximately 380,000 square feet. The building would house several different types of operations, including cultivation, production, distribution, and manufacturing, and no retail will be on site. Just want to reinforce that. No retail will be on site. The project could also accommodate for adequate employee parking and infrastructure improvements, including new sidewalks and water sewer construction. We're expecting to spend over $209 million in total construction cost. This includes over $150 million in new construction and over $25 million in infrastructure work. We also expect to spend no less than $21 million on manufacturing and non-manufacturing equipment. Our projected timetable is a 20-month build-out, with the completion in April of 2024. In terms of economic impact, we expect to bring on no less than 307 full-time jobs once we're operational. These are quality entry, mid, and senior level positions that include office managers, facility maintenance, packaging, and purchasing and logistic leads. Full-time employees can expect competitive salaries as well, as a comprehensive suite of benefits including medical, vision, dental, up to 80 hours of PTO, and a company matching 401k plan. We also expect to create at least 100 new construction jobs during the build-out, and as committed at our last meeting, we've completed our negotiations with the Hudson Valley Building Trade. Finally, there will be plenty of opportunities for independent contracting and professional services such as lawn care, waste management, pest control, and facility and fleet maintenance, and we look forward to sourcing those. Sure.
Because I heard all that before when I talked to your representatives, and I'm a retired tradesperson, so I'm very happy, and my fellow board member is as well. I did have a concern, because we're big on a community benefit, you know, and landscaping is great, some of the other things are great, but I wanted to make sure that they made every effort, your group made every effort possible to utilize businesses in the contiguous counties around here, because that's what really makes this thing go, is the ripple effect, you know what I'm saying? So it, just as a reminder, everything that they can do to try to utilize, it'd be great if you can get as much as you can from Ellenville and Wawarsing, but Ulster County specifically, and then the contiguous counties, whether it's Orange or Dutchess or Sullivan or whatever, you know, okay? I'm sorry to interrupt, but I had
That's
a
okay.
thought, and I didn't want to forget about it. Sometimes
I appreciate that.
you're welcome. Thank you.
So with that, Sabrina, Christian, and I would like to thank you in advance for your comments and feedback. We'll certainly be listening closely tonight, and we look forward to working with you in the near future on this historic project with Wawarsing and Ulster County.
Thank you so much.
Thank
We'll
you.
give you a chance to speak at the end of the meeting again. It was very concise and to the point, and there'd have to be a lot of arguments not to like that. So it's 7:20. I'll now open this public hearing for public comment at 7:20 o'clock p.m. By way of operating rules, if you wish to make a public comment, please raise your hand. I'll call on you. Please wait to be recognized. Once recognized, please stand and state your name and address for the record. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes. I think we can, whatever, if you're telling a good story, we're here to listen, okay? So that all those present today may have a chance to comment for the record. If your comments mirror those of someone who's already spoken, you may so indicate and then relinquish the podium to another speaker so that all views represented at this hearing may be heard. I'll stay here as long as you want, okay? When everyone has had the opportunity to speak, I'll conclude the public hearing. A record of this public hearing will be prepared and reviewed by the members of the agency in connection with the agency's consideration of the proposed project. In order to ensure that the public has adequate time to provide comments to the agency on this proposed project, the agency will hold the comment period for this proposed project until 5 p.m., May 16, 2022. All comments received by the close of business on May 16, 2022 will be included in the official record of the agency with respect to the proposed project. Those usually end up on the website. Again, the purpose of this public hearing is to solicit public comment. We're not here to answer questions. However, we will, in the course of this public hearing, consider questions if we have the information to answer the questions and there is sufficient time to consider such questions. I will now ask if there is anyone attending the public hearing who wishes to comment on either the nature or location of the project facility or the proposed financial assistance being contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. For the record, please state your name, indicate your comments on either the proposed project or the proposed financial assistance being contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. Please.
A sign-in sheet was floating around somewhere. Somebody has it? Not everybody signed in. If you're going to speak, I'd ask that you please sign in.
Okay, but we can get their name put down. They could sign in later on, whatever. You, sir, I'm sorry, not to be rude.
That's okay, I did sign in. My name's Eric Cafaro. Myself and my partner Joseph Cafaro next to me.
Can you come over to the mic?
Sure.
Sorry. It won't go through the live stream if you don't.
We own two local restaurants in Ellenville, Tony and Nick's Italian Kitchen on Canal Street and the Ellenville Country Club Grill, which is over at the golf course that the village now owns. Our support is for the entire project, for these accommodations that they're trying to get. We already are experiencing positivity from when they come in town. They've been supporting our business establishments. All I'm basically trying to say is we support every aspect of this 100%. I also brought some letters with me of support from other business owners and some longtime Ellenville residents. If I could give them to
We'll put them in the record. We'll put them in the record. It's a long time coming for a sunny day for Ellenville.
Exactly right. That's all I have to say, and thank you for
You're welcome. Sir,
Good evening.
your name?
My name is Roger Buckwalter. I'm a lifelong resident of Ellenville. I'm here this evening to show my support for Cresco and the request for a tax adjustment. This project is a win-win for both the village of Ellenville and the town of Warsing. Even though the sought-after pilot would be a significant reduction to Cresco's taxes, the amount they would pay would still be far greater than the tax revenue currently being generated from this property. This project is one of the keys to the revitalization of the area, and I urge the IDA and any other involved agencies to support it fully. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, sir. You look familiar. You were elected official, I think, right?
so. Good evening. My name is Jeff Kaplan. I'm the mayor of the village of Ellenville. We're a small community nestled in this beautiful valley of 4,000 people. An additional 9,000 round out the town of Warsing. We started a renaissance in Ellenville back in the 50s when Channel Master chose that site to build its first factory that became one of the big industrial hubs in the county. Ellenville has some great features. One of the great features is we don't have Route 17, we don't have the thruway. There's only 2 lanes to get into Ellenville, 2 lanes to get out, and it's helped us maintain a quaint and a very close community bind. But it's hurt us in trying to get industries from outside of the area to come in. So Channel Master was a homegrown business, Schrade, homegrown business. So when they both upped and left or went out of business, trying to fill that site was a real challenge because trucking businesses in is a real problem. There's another issue that we locals have, and that was when Channel Master was at its real height, there was smokestacks, there was smoke going up. We're in a valley. That smoke sat right here in the valley. So for a new business to come in, we were really looking and challenged to find a business that was the right business for that site. We found it, and they found us in Cresco, because that business doesn't have the smokestacks. It's a clean, agricultural, farming-based business that really is perfect for Ellenville and perfect for that site. And I want to just repeat what Roger said. We've had a long time in trying to find a business for that site, and it really has languished. It languished so long that the huge factory that was there eventually became, it was required to be knocked down, and so now someone had to start from scratch on a site that at one time had some environmental issues. So the fact that Cresco picked that site and has given us the support and that we really need to get Ellenville up and running again has just been terrific. We want to thank Cresco for that. And in terms of the tax benefits, again, want to reiterate that with nothing there, we were going to get the same tax revenue. This is not reducing what we were getting there already. This will only increase from here going forward. And so we want to thank you, and we hope this board will consider their
Absolutely.
application.
What do you see, you know, being in the governmental end, what do you see as maybe increase in your police force, any of your public sector agencies, big boon to that as well?
Yeah, well, look, Ellenville is starting to prosper in a number of different areas. What we really need is jobs here so that we don't have to rely on just tourists coming into the area. We started to build, and you had our restaurateur here with 2 restaurants in the area, but it's hard to support restaurants just on the local economy that we have. We need more people with disposable income. 300 plus jobs is going to help create that, and that's going to help our downtown area. It will create jobs in that respect. Our police force will have to grow, and that will create more jobs here. And I think it's nothing but, as they said, a win-win for Ellenville.
I spent a lot of time around here over the last 20-some years in the trades as a president of a carpenters union, and there's been a lot of false starts, whether it's, you know, anything to do with the Neville that just kind of fell off, or huge additions to the hospital that really haven't happened yet. And, you know, I think, as you said, and I apologize, it's going to be an economic driver, I think, you know, for this community. And,
Right.
you know, the ripples you'll be able to see. So, you know, I don't speak for all the board members, I speak for myself. I think it's something that, again, is long overdue, because I remember driving through here as a kid 40-some years ago, and there was a lot of viable businesses, and it just was year by year by year, the village, it got smaller and smaller. So we wish you the best of luck in the growth of your town.
Well, we appreciate it. We've spent the last 30 plus years being on the other side of the county, and that other side of the county is going to become the hub of the county very soon. So,
It's separate and distinct from the east and the west, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
thank you very much. We appreciate
you.
it.
Do you have a fire company or a fire district?
It's a fire district. We have a number of companies that make up that fire district. They have not consolidated yet, even though the district has consolidated. They're still
Are they volunteer or
separate companies.
professional?
They're all volunteer.
Okay, thank you.
So one of the notes, Chair, or we should note that under an IDA project, the applicant still has to pay full boat when it comes to the district.
Well, anything that
So-
they have to do, I
Right.
mean, I don't want to go through a chapter and verse,
No,
but
but it's,
it's a good point to bring up.
It's an
Terrific.
additional revenue.
Just
for-
to add on one other thing in terms of revenue, when the Nevele closed down, the village of Ellenville Water District, or water company, basically lost a third of its revenue and didn't really lose much in the way of expenses. This project will put us back in the black in terms of what our revenue will be from our water. So, thank you.
No, you're welcome, thank you. Anyone else? Please.
I always have to do this. It's very
It's
annoying.
not fair.
But it's what it is.
You
right?
stand right on top of this table.
No, that's not happening. That is not happening. So my name is Lisa Wiles. I'm the superintendent of the Ellenville School District. And I do want to start by really calling out Tim Wiederman and the county executive's office and the IDA for,
Oh, we're the important guys.
I know you are. I'm going to get to that in a minute.
Until you get it passed, then
And-
Tim
and
Wiedemann takes
Cresco.
over.
So you mentioned false starts. So I've been in the district 25 years. False starts, broken promises. Really, we get going, and then there's great disappointment. When the casino was coming, I stood in Village Hall. People said, if the casino doesn't happen, we're done. So Ellenville, I said this at a meeting the other day, we're resilient, we have grit, and we're not giving up, but we need help. And I'm happy to see finally there's something that we can hold our hats to here. Our families need jobs. I'm hoping that part of this agreement, when you hire people, there's solid training programs so you can retain employees here. I was happy to hear that there's benefits, but retention is really important, that we keep the employees, you keep the employees that you hire. Just a few other comments. I think the clawback, we are in 2 counties. We have our school district is in Sullivan County and also Ulster County, and we've been involved with IDA projects, and sometimes it's been very frustrating. Early on, many years ago, when the clawback provisions weren't as strong as they are now. So my only questions to that is, does the IDA have to wait till the annual report comes in, or can they ask for information quarterly or more often than annually if there's a question as to whether or not any company, not Cresco, is following along with that?
I'll tell you, usually you wait till the annual report, but there have been some school districts that have called and said, that guy didn't pay his taxes.
Right.
So we are. Look, I usually let the results speak for themselves. This is a board that is very, very diligent, okay? When I took over as chair of the board, there was a couple of very smart individuals, Diane Einen, who chairs our audit, and Michael Ham, who chairs our governance, and, your tax dollars are important to us, okay? Very important to us, and no one gets a free ride. I'm the guy many, many years ago who pushed to get the clawback in because developers came back and said, well, we tried our best. You trying your best doesn't count. We've had times here where the market went and you couldn't get a workforce, where we've sat down with an applicant who's had an active pilot and we renegotiated with it because they couldn't find anybody to work. It wasn't for lack of them trying. This board is a board that, and quite honestly, I'll be gone in a month, but there's a culture on this board at this point. It's not about being punitive. It's about working alongside the community, the county, the businesses, and everything starts at your door. Honestly, everything starts at your door. You want to keep your best and your brightest in this county and in this municipality, so rest assured. You can always reach out to Rose. We have an open door as far as that goes, because we want to know if things haven't been done.
Right.
Does that answer for you?
Yeah, I just want to make sure the provisions are there so we don't have to wait till the next year, that people can ask questions. If that's possible, that's important to us. We've
Ask
been in
whatever
that.
question,
Yeah,
whenever.
we've been
whenever
in
you
that
need.
position before. The other thing we had with a pilot, not in this county, and then another pilot, is there was some confusion in the pilot agreement with regard to the number of jobs and the FTEs. So these positions, from what I am understanding, are full-time positions, because
Yeah.
at the school, we have employees that are working at a facility, and they were promised full-time jobs, but they ended up being part-time jobs. And we have people here that are really struggling in the community, working 3 part-time jobs as opposed to 1 full-time job. So that's important to
Well,
us.
it's a quality of life thing, too.
Especially if they're parents with our kids, kids in the district.
My former wife was a teacher in the Newburgh School District. And, one parent was working, the other one wasn't there, and, it's a quality of life thing for us as well. And it's not just about the jobs, it's the benefit to the community overall. It's the one that you can't see, it's not tangible. You can't do this, but you'll see it.
Right.
It may be part-time jobs. It's the equivalent of 375 full-time jobs. So it's 375 full-time equivalents.
So I don't know how it all works, but I know that the people that are working at a particular distribution facility get no benefits and they're part-time jobs. So I just want to make sure that everybody's clear with what the expectations are, whatever they are.
Well, when they laid out and they started talking about wages, okay, and based on the way it's done in New York, what wasn't included was the benefit package. So say it was $18 an hour, but there's another $3 an hour in benefits. You know, anybody here who's got young children, try walking into the emergency room 5-6 times a year with just cash in your pocket, as opposed to a full-fledged medical program. So they're going the extra mile, quite honestly.
And we appreciate that very much. Just two other things with regard to what was mentioned earlier about taxes. So I too believe that we will be receiving more than we're receiving now. So one of the things very typical of saying is 0% of 0 is 0. That's Common Core math.
Nothing
Just
from
saying.
nothing leaves nothing.
Thank goodness we don't have Common Core. We're next generation standards. But that being said, the pilot will help us, and so will the eventuality of being back on the tax rolls eventually. I do want to bring to your attention, I mentioned it to Tim earlier, that in addition to the school district, the town, and the village, and the fire districts, however that works, we have a public library that it's its own taxing entity here too. So without us calling that out, they should have their own allocation out of the money, not a portion of the school district. So that happens a lot. So I'm advocating for the library and the school district and
How
the
does that
town,
typically handle?
you know, and the village. So however, I'm sure that that can be worked out. I just
We're gonna
wanted,
try to get you an answer right now.
Okay.
Don't run away, stay right there. You run into that before Joe.
And what we can do is we can chase that down. What kind of library is it? Because there's all different types of
Yeah, so it's-
libraries, as you know. Is it a school-supported library?
yes. Well, we don't support it financially. We will bond for them if they request it. They have their own budget. They tax themselves, but we collect the money for them.
Right, so their school tax, or their library tax.
Their library tax is on our
is your
warrant.
bill. So,
Right.
yes, so that will, the pilot bill will include
Right.
that charge.
I just want to make sure that when you're doing the calculations, that that's included in that, and that, you know, that it's a separate entity with a separate budget.
And I'll tell you what that leads me into, and I'm going to ask Rose to comment on it. There've been a lot of difficulties in the county because, and no fault of any of the assessors, but everything has been done, it hasn't been consistent. Our CEO just recently had a meeting with the assessors group, right? Maybe you want to touch on that. We're trying to get people to be consistent, you know, so it's not, well, they did it over there, why didn't they do it over here? Rose?
Yeah, we plan to work very closely with the assessors on especially any new projects that go forward. There'll be a meeting to get it set up, and then there'll be a sort of cheat sheet put together besides our normal closing documents. And then I plan to meet with the assessors at least twice a year going forward as well.
So one of the issues we ran into many years ago with the Nevele when it was open and it had a pilot, when it went back onto the tax rolls, there was a lack of communication. And I don't know if you remember this, but it didn't get back on the tax rolls at the time the school tax was levied. So there was an issue with that. So we can definitely, you know, keep in charge. And one last thing in closing. So I know I really annoyed Mike Hine and you know, the executive now and Tim, and I'm going to say what I say always. So, and it was alluded to before. So I feel, and many of us feel, however you're going to articulate it, is that we feel sometimes like we're the stepchild of the county because we are where we are. Everyone's laughing. So I just want to tell you that I appreciate the fact that there's been some, you know, movement down here to have a viable company come in, but please don't stop. Because my community and my kids and my families, our kids and our families deserve more.
Well, this is laid at your feet because how these developers and end users are received and how they're embraced by the communities and the county, it's important. So guess what? It's on you to make it as welcoming as possible.
Oh,
And
we
to tell you
will.
the truth, about 10 years ago, that place up there, I was a board member, and I said, you know what? You ought to just turn around and make that an economic development zone. The county ought to take over Schrade and bring a bunch of small businesses in, and, you know, it didn't work at that time. It was prohibitive to do that. probably better that it happened that way. And like I said earlier on, better that place than a casino,
Yeah, yeah.
you know?
yeah.
So
We're happy that it's not the
this
casino with
board
what
and-
the
and the county,
circumstances now.
they're not going anywhere, so
Right.
I'll guarantee you what you put into it, they'll match it and do the same thing.
Right.
Thank
right.
you.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you
you.
for being so upfront. Who else? Tim, you have something you want to say? Yeah. Tim Wiedemann? Anybody else from the public general comment? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am? Anyone back there? Oh, okay. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Gaetana Charlante. I'm from Saugerties,
Okay.
and it's really nice to hear, everybody being excited about this project. I remind you that this year, 2021, the town of Saugerties, the town of Warwassing, the town of Schwanga, the town of Esopus, and the town of Plattekill voted down having marijuana shops and marijuana lounges in their town. I also want to tell you that I worked out here in Ellicville. I live in Saugerties, but I was assigned at 2 different times in the substance abuse treatment unit. Okay, so I have seen, and I have a lot of, I'm not jumping up and down about a cannabis site. That just doesn't excite me. And I mean, where does it stop? I mean, I've seen lives be ruined, and I've seen people, I would say 90% of the people who have come to me in the clinic as a substance abuse counselor, tell me that marijuana was the gateway drug. Okay, now I understand that there is a place for it, in medicine, or so they say. And when it was first going to, be used, they said that the THC was going to be removed from it, so people weren't getting high. I don't think that that's the case anymore. So I do have some comments. I did come down from Saugerties, like I said, and I want to add, well, this will go over 3 minutes, I'm sorry, but, okay, so anyway, I said about the 5 towns being, having voted it down, and, if an industry is worthwhile, it's going to stand on its own. And your meeting down here is in Warwassing, but it affects everybody in the county. It affects everybody in the county in terms of the property taxes, in terms of the sales taxes. I know a lot of people, more people who would have come tonight if this had been centrally located. I'm glad that you have it here. It certainly affects the people, but I think we also need to hear from the people, up on the
Well,
other
that's
end
why
of
we
the
have a
county.
public meeting. You're a
Yeah.
county taxpayer, and your opinion is important, so please
Right.
continue.
Right, so what I'm saying though is that you would have had a lot more concerned people coming out well, actually, I thought that typically you have 2 public hearings. I know that's how the town does it. So if you're going to do a second one, I would suggest it be
We
more
won't be
centrally
doing that.
located here. Okay. And the land at Cresco and Gloucester is, why isn't it being used as farmland? You know what? Joe Biden says we're facing a food shortage. I saw that. You all saw that.
Well, they're growing something there.
Huh?
Yeah, they're gonna be growing something there. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, it's not food.
well,
If it is food,
from what I
you're not going to
understand.
be going to work, honey.
Okay, well, first of all, my name's not Honey, okay?
Yes, good.
All right,
Okay.
Don't disrespect me, I
Okay,
wouldn't
I'm
do that to
sorry.
you.
No, okay.
Okay, what, I'll just
Okay, I
touch on, no,
apologize.
that's fine, accept it. There was a lot of brownfield issues, I believe, on that site, okay? So, I mean, you could say you remediate it, I'm not a farmer, I'm not an arborist or anything like that, but there's a million different things that you can do, but there's not a whole lot of people willing to put a couple $100 million investment in. So, I'm not carrying the water for Cresco. You directed a question up here, and I answered it. I won't be answering any more, but I get what you're saying, so continue.
Okay, so what does this, you said there's groundwater issues.
No, I said there was brownfield issues.
Okay.
There was remediation that had to be done over the years.
Okay. Okay, so are you saying that could not be used for agriculture?
I'm not saying that at all.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
Then
saying
I
that at all.
I
I'm
don't
telling you
understand what you're saying.
that no one has done it up to this point because there had to be remediation done. So it's been sitting there empty for 10, 12 years, whatever it may be, 20 years.
Has it been done?
Yeah,
Right, and
no,
Chair,
Was
just
it
as
done?
you said in your letter of your instructions, the purpose of this hearing, ma'am, is to solicit comments.
and that's my fault. I
And-
shouldn't
and-
be answering the question. So I apologize for taking time away from you. So
Okay,
please
wait, you
continue.
mentioned something, and I'm just asking
Sure,
about.
sure.
Yeah,
So
I won't be answering anymore.
Okay,
Thank
that's
you.
fine, but I'll just be talking, yes. Okay, so we stand for free market economy. We feel like this is picking winners and losers. We're against corporate welfare and for corporations that are of little benefit to the whole county. Okay, and I wonder what guarantee there is that 345 employees are actually going to be hired, and you did say something about equivalent of 345 employees, and I don't know what that means. And I'm not sure that anybody here really knows what
Well,
that
we do,
means yet.
because there's 35 hours constitutes an FTE, one FTE, okay? So it's 375 FTEs within 3 years. If they don't meet that requirement, then there's a provision for a clawback, where you take the benefit back from them and potentially put them back on the tax roll. So I hope that answers that.
I was questioning the word equivalent.
Well, I gave you an answer. Equivalent is 35 hours a week, 375 jobs are promised that they're on the hook for.
Okay. Again, I feel like if it's a worthwhile job, it'll stand on its own. And I'm sorry to burst your bubble down here, but not everybody in the county, agrees with this. So, and I also have, here's something that I learned up in Sauk. We had a presentation one night by someone who was a farmer, someone who was into the medical field, and someone who was into the legal field. And one of the things that was pointed out to us is that these corporations that New York State, is favoring to give the companies, let's see how I can say this and still be politically correct. The people who are given favor in these companies are minority groups: Black, Hispanic, LGBTQ, whatever those letters are, all the letters, you all know what it means. And I don't know if that applies here. I would like to know that. You don't have to answer it. I doubt anybody here knows that, because it's something that we heard.
Actually, I would actually counsel you not to answer that, okay? So
That's fine.
we're
I'm not asking the question. I'm telling you that that's what I heard up in Saugerties. Actually, it was the guy who his specialty was farming. Okay? So it's something to keep in mind.
Well, thank you for your time. Anyone else? Tim? Mr. Tim Wiedemann?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Tim Wiedemann, Director of Economic Development for Ulster County, but today I am a resident of Kingston at 44 Poncocky Street down in the Roundout. I want to thank you, Chair Malcolm, and thank the members of the IDA board. Thank you, Cassie and Terry in his absence, and the members of the town board. Thank you, Mayor Kaplan and the village board. This has been quite a process. I've been doing economic development for over 20 years, and I've seen a lot of good companies, and I've seen a few not so good companies in that process. But I can say honestly that I've never worked with a company like Cresco before. In the time that I've gotten to know the Cresco team over the last year and a couple months, they've consistently surprised me at every turn. They showed up over a year ago in February in the snow to trudge around the Schrade site when it was just a dream and a hope. And a dream and a hope, by the way, that I should just note that the IDA board helped establish by creating a highest and best use study several years ago that looked at the Schrade site and provided some documents and some facts and figures that ultimately were what led Cresco to the site for that first visit. So thank you to the IDA board members who were involved with that. They surprised me when they were flexible, as they encountered a number of environmental challenges, which were mentioned just now. This is an old industrial site. There are environmental easements and continuing monitoring in contamination issues that are there in the past. Those will ultimately not be Cresco's responsibility. responsibility, but they will have to live with those constraints on the site. And that's one of the things that's made the site so challenging from a redevelopment standpoint. And instead of running away screaming, they redoubled their efforts and looked for ways to work around those environmental challenges, to their credit. They behaved responsibly when they submitted their IDA application, requesting not the maximum benefit that they could under the IDA's UTEP, but a benefit that they felt and believe is the necessary benefit in order for them to complete the project. And even up to today, they proved their commitment to the Ellenville-Wawarsing community, actively looking for ways to support local businesses, local causes, and the local workforce, including the building and construction trades. One person who couldn't be here tonight, in addition to Marcia, thank you for being here, Marcia, Sabrina Noah. Sabrina has been an ultimate team member as she's been involved in this project, and I'm sad that she couldn't be here for tonight to hear this in person, but I think she's listening on the live stream. So I want to say thank you, Sabrina. You never mentioned that on our daily 8 a.m. calls, it was actually 5 a.m. West Coast time, so that gives you a sense of her commitment to the project, and she is most definitely, in the words of Cresco, professionalizing the cannabis industry. I'm proud personally of this project and the signal it sends that Ellenville and Wawarsing are open for business, a message that I think the community here has been trying to yell from the treetops for a long time, and I appreciate their patience and understand their frustration and look forward to continuing to work with them in the days ahead.
Just for edification, Mike, you were at the Building Trades meeting today. What does it look like? How many jobs during, I believe it's 21 months?
Yeah,
Is the
so
construction, how many jobs are,
completion date will be 2024, so we're estimating probably upwards in the area of 200 to 250 union jobs there. That's good paying benefits. And one thing about those jobs also is the fact that they're all local people. They're Orange County, they're Ulster County, they're Sullivan County residents, that's where everybody from the building trades lives. So they will be there for the next 2 years working on this project.
so essentially what Mike's saying is your tax dollars aren't headed to Pennsylvania, Connecticut, wherever. It's the contiguous counties that surround Ulster. Is anyone else? Yes, please. How are you this evening?
You?
Well, so good. So far, so good. I'm on this side of the grass. I don't know if I'm going to Saugerties this week, but I'm okay.
I'm Arlene Post. I live in Ulster Park, and I don't agree with this at all. Casino, drugs, still a vice. It's unfortunate that, we make money on this stuff. It's a very sad situation that we make money on hurting people's lives. I went to 2 hearings or town board meetings about when they wanted to approve opening sites in their towns, and people were saying, oh, the taxes it's going to bring in. And now you're stopping the taxes. So you want to, have them not pay taxes. I'm like, okay, what was that big argument? We're going to bring all these taxes. So I know it's going to go through. Everyone here wants it. It's a bad thing, though, in my opinion. I support everything that Gaetano said, and that's what I have to say.
Listen, that's what these meetings are for people to come out and give their perspective. And, there's nothing to say, and I don't speak for the town, the developer, that they won't work hand in hand. And what's not there right now, you're not getting anything on, as far as that. And it's not a debate, but I'm sure Cresco, Gloucester will work along with the community if there's a program regarding drugs or whatever the case may be. I don't think they're here for a month. I think they're here for a long term and looking to be a good partner. But I get your perspective, and honestly, it's refreshing that people come down and voice their concern. So thank you very much.
It's a drug, and drugs are bad. So these
Yes,
kind
they
of drugs
are.
are bad. Yeah, but you still put.
Anyone else? Okay, so I'll now move forward to close the public hearing. Before closing the public hearing, I'll first ask Marcia Maxwell, who is appearing on behalf of the company, if she has any additional comments. And I will remind you all that the agency will hold the comment period for this proposed project open until 5 p.m. May 16, 2022. All comments received by the close of business May 16, 2022 will be included in the official record of the agency with respect to the proposed project. Further, the meeting at which the agency will formally consider the comments received regarding the proposed project is scheduled for May 18, 2022 at 9 a.m. This meeting, like all meetings of the agency, is open to the public. Marcia?
No additional comments at this time. Thank you.
No more?
No more.
Oof. That's it? Okay. So I'll now close this public hearing. Let the record show it's 7:55 p.m. Thank you for attending.